Alright guys, Fuma versus Toda, the White Knight's Eye versus the Fuma Empress. Guys, this is most likely gonna be up there for fight of the year. Can we agree on that? And when I say fight of the year, you know, I'm looking at Record of Ragnarok, right? I'm looking at the Kengan Omegas, the Tokyo Duels. I'm looking at One Punch Man, Majo Tyson, you guys name it. Bring me what you think is a top contender for fight of the year so far, because, you know, we're only in February. It's not like there are so many options, right? But that's just it. It speaks to the quality that we've been getting in Tenkaichi. And, you know, I'm a reasonable person. Show me any fight that you think ended this year that is so good you would call it fight of the year, because I think this is it. This has to be our #1 contender if you're not going to name any other one. And when I say fight of the year, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like, the real fight fans know what I mean. The ones who want to see it get dirty but also competitive, the ones who say they're going to put money on their favorite, but it's really just part of the fun, right? Like, you don't have the money, but that's just the fun of it. You enjoy it for what it is, and that's who I'm speaking to, because that's me. You know, I'm a fight fan, and we have to talk about this, because when it comes to battle manga, there's really only so much you can do, right? And I think that comes from the fact that we're seeing so many tournament-based battle manga that it's getting so hard to keep up with. But Fuma versus Toda does so many things right for so many reasons, and mainly I think it's because the majority of people didn't even know who these two were before reading Tenkaichi. And you hear it all the time, right? Especially when it comes to Record of Ragnarok, it's always Poseidon or Jack the Ripper, just really famous names that people get hooked on, and that's really all they care about. The fact that it's somehow relatable because they never knew what a Lubu or a Sasaki Kojiro was. You see where I'm going with this? Now, if you're familiar with other battle manga that just have their own set of characters, so in other words, characters who aren't directly based on historical or mythical figures, then maybe you don't know what I'm talking about. But the bigger point I want to get across to you is I just don't care about all that, right? Like, a good fight is a good fight. You either enjoy it like a fight fan or you don't. So frankly, I don't care who Toda was in real life or how Musashi has to fight Kojiro, because that's just how it, you know, is IRL. Like, none of that matters to me at all. And I'm not saying you have to enjoy the fights the way I do, but I am saying there comes a point where you can't ignore the quality because you couldn't relate to it for not knowing who the character is based on or for whatever reason. And when it comes to quality, I think Fuma versus Toda just has so much style, you can't help but appreciate it, right? And I first realized this before the fight even started, where we see Toda cutting off the hand of one of Oda's men, and then he straight up just cuts his nose off. And it's not like Tenkaichi being so violent or graphic was anything new, but this is a perfect moment of what I'm talking about when it comes to style. The way he's talking to this dude, especially when he says, if you are samurai, you should speak more clearly. This is why I hate Oda's retainers. You feel me, blockhead? And Toda has so many good moments like this. Like, after he brings this guy's head over to the arena, he just says, well, it wasn't intentional. I got a bit carried away. And then he literally looks at Oda straight up with the disrespect, calling him Lil Oda boy. And he's doing this to the shogun, the leader of the country. So the bigger point I'm trying to make here is, aside from how obviously gorgeous the art is, I think it's moments like this where Toda shows so much character that as a fight fan, I end up having a personal bias for him when I have no idea who the real Toda Seigen actually was. And then the actual moments in his fight with Fuma, the banter, that was just always so top tier. So as a fight fan, it was always nice to get more from this than just the high quality fight itself. But as a critique, I think the only downside was that it just made more sense from a marketing standpoint that Fuma was going to win, right? And so in that sense, I never really expected Toda to win. It just felt more logical that the character with the more fan service would have came out on top. And to be fair, it wouldn't even surprise me if we see Fuma win against Musashi, because it would only be a good thing for the manga if there was still, you know, some sort of fan service to help with the sales. But I should also mention that apparently the editor came out on Twitter and basically did a breakdown of how the whole team decides who's going to win any given fight. And essentially it all came down to a vote. So thankfully this was all translated into English, and this is all coming from the editor. It says, before a battle begins in Tenkaichi, it hasn't been decided who will win. So how does it work? How is a victory or defeat decided? I'll tell you. There's a meeting before the match. There we discuss the personalities, abilities, backgrounds, etc. of the contestants based on the materials provided by Kazunobu Goto, a collaborator. And then the next step, this is actually at the start of the match. It says, when the battle begins, they come up with ideas to showcase this martial artist is strong like this. If it looks good, I ask them to include it in the chapter as much as possible. And this is what I really wanted to get to, how they decide the winner. It says, it's usually decided at the meeting that takes place 1 or 2 chapters before the end of the fight. We take into consideration the previous draft, the unpublished manuscript, and the potential trump cards of each fighter. Then the winner and loser are chosen. Since we all love battle manga, the winners are decided by consensus between Nakamura sensei, Azuma sensei, and me. It's just as simple as the one who gets the most overall votes between us, the 3 battle manga fans, wins. Tenkaichi doesn't have a designated protagonist. in Tenkaichi, everyone is a central character, enemies, allies, there are no sides. That's why the manga is completely free of narrative tropes such as justice prevails and the promise of the story, a battle tournament in which not even the creators can predict the outcome. And this next bit is from the author Nakamura sensei. It says, I felt that if you only have one protagonist in a fighting manga, people will read the fights thinking they're going to win anyway, right? So I thought I'd try to write all the characters in Tenkaichi as if they were all protagonists. I hope you enjoy it. So I know I said that it felt more likely that Fuma would have won just from a marketing standpoint, but apparently it's a lot more complicated than that. And to be fair, I know I called it a downside, but this is one of those rare exceptions where even if I'm so sure of who I know will win, or better yet, even if I'm so sure that the person who I want to win is actually going to lose, the effect it had on my enjoyment was so small that I don't even want to call it a complaint. And that's really the only reason I mentioned this, because as a fight fan, a lot of the hype in any fight is usually always riding on the mystery, because you hear it all the time, right? May the better man win, but that's because that's what you're really hoping for, that the person with the better performance takes the win. But because I just assumed Fuma would have won anyway, this is just that rare exception where even when you know who's going to win, the journey getting there is just way too good. And that alone should just say a lot about a fight, right? I mean, a perfect example of this is Saitama from One Punch Man. I mean, we all know Saitama will never lose, but his fight against Boros is just a classic. You can't deny the quality to it. So this is exactly where I'm coming from. Even though it felt so obvious Fuma was going to win, there was just so many good moments, not just between them, but individually. And I think what also helped was just how similar their backgrounds are. Fuma and Toda had both lost someone important to them, except Toda climbed his way up the ladder while Fuma is just a natural talent. And overall, the fight choreography itself and the way it applies that to the setting, everything about this fight is just so insanely good. And again, I know no one else is probably wondering what the fight of the year actually is when it comes to manga. I mean, who knows how many fights there would actually be in a single year if you were to collect them all, but like I said earlier, this is my #1 contender in my opinion, unless somehow we see the end of Yagyu versus William Adams this year. But until then, this fight deserves all the praise it can get. This is how you should write a fight. But I'm gonna end the video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like. I'd greatly appreciate it, and let me know in the comments how you all felt about this fight. Maybe what were some of your favorite moments. But yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.